Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So if you're familiar with my channel, especially my most popular videos, you're probably feeling a little betrayed right now because, as you guys know, I feel like my channel has been known for, making paint.net videos, which is, if you don't know what I'm talking about, is a free graphics, or I don't know what you even call those types of, it's a Photoshop type program where you can, make graphics, make images, edit images, you can make YouTube thumbnails, you can make graphic artwork, and it's completely free, paint.net, but I don't know if I even told you this in the video, but for like a year, I've been using Photoshop for all my thumbnails. And I've kind of noticed that I kind of like Photoshop a lot better, obviously. I mean, it's a paid program and everything. I actually, I got it like a school copy. Just another disclaimer, I'm not the best with, graphics at all. You can look at my banner, you can look at my recent thumbnails. I use Photoshop for the past year or so now. And, they're not like the fanciest thumbnails. I don't know, all the great effects, but in my opinion, I think I know how to make a good, like, minimalistic, simple banner, or thumbnail that, looks good and is fairly easy to do, and anyone can do it, especially if you're a beginner. The first thing when you open Photoshop is actually what you want to do is go to a new file, right, and you'll be greeted with this screen. I already have a thumbnail preset set up, and how to make a preset, actually, as you can see in saved, I have thumbnail. I only have two presets, which is letter, paper, and thumbnail. To make your own preset, what you want to do is you have to rename this, and then you would click this button, but you need to know actually the specs of the preset. So what I recommend is you can have a 1920, I can't type, you can have a 1920 by 1080 thumbnail, which is of course a 1080p thumbnail, but I feel like 720p thumbnails look, fine. They look completely as good as 1080p thumbnails on YouTube, and you can't really, or if 1080p, thumbnails, they obviously probably have a lot more detail, but, to the naked eye, no one really noticed the difference at all between a 1080p thumbnail and a 720p thumbnail. So what I recommend is just leaving it, the width at 1280 and the height at 720, which is of course 720p, and leaving just the file size is smaller, which is, a lot easier to work with YouTube. Obviously those are pixels. Make the orientation landscape, of course, because YouTube thumbnails are sideways. The resolution, this is just like the pixels per inch. As you can see, you can have the pixels per centimeter, but I like working in PPI, and you know what, 100 PPI is completely fine for online viewing. The only reason you would go up, usually if you're actually printing this and you're making like a post or something, you actually might want to go up to 300, but obviously this is just for YouTube, so 100. You can even go lower if you want, but I feel like 100 is good balance for quality and file size, stuff like that. Color mode, obviously you want RGB, which is the full color spectrum. I just leave it at 8-bit, and what I like doing is usually by default this is white for your thumbnails, unless you want one. You don't really want a white background, right? What I like to do is have it just transparent, so there's nothing in the background at all. As you can see, this gray and white checkerboard you're seeing right now on the project in the background, that means that it's transparent. That means there's nothing there. There's no color. There's absolutely nothing. And once you have that, you can name the preset whatever. You can name a thumbnail. I already have one right there. It's the same settings, and you would press create. So I'm just gonna close out one of these. They're the exact same, and you have your transparent, just default. There's nothing there. A blank template for you to work with. So as I said before, this is not going to be the most like advanced Photoshop tutorial, how to add cool effects, how to make it really, really good, but it's going to be simple, and I think the effects I'm going to do, they're kind of minimalist, and I think they look good for YouTube thumbnails. So what do you need? Obviously is a pretty cool background, and by the way, the thumbnail is the thumbnail that is for this video, so it's kind of a meta tutorial. But the background, that really depends on obviously the video. If you have a gaming video, here, let me just open up my thumbnails that I've made in the past by different styles of videos. So as you can see, I have a lot of just meme thumbnails. So these ones, like right here, they're obviously very easy to make, or not easy, but they're not, they're a meme thumbnail, like it's not how you want to make your thumbnails. This one too, you don't want to make your thumbnails like these. They're obviously meant to be for comedic purposes, and these are the types of thumbnails I will show you. I can show you how to do, like this, or the one that you're really gonna see is very similar to this one right here. This is my a tutorial thumbnail. This is the template that I mainly follow. Obviously not an actual template, but this is like the form of thumbnail that I do. and you're gonna see how I do it, and it's fairly simple, and in my opinion they look good, they look pleasing to the eye, they're not overly, like, there's not too many effects where it just looks bad. What you need is a background that corresponds to your video, and for a thumbnail about how to make thumbnails, I figured it's too meta. I can't think of a background, so what I'm gonna do is I have 2 tabs open right now. I'm just gonna do a city skyline. And it's not even a city skyline, it's like a art form or like a drawing of a city skyline. So I'm just gonna copy this image, right? Don't worry about, you know, I mean, you should worry about copyright, but honestly, no one's gonna catch you. I just copied it. You go in the first layer, press Ctrl V to paste it. As you can see, it's very small. So how to actually edit images, you just you make sure you're on the same layer, you press Ctrl T, and then now you can resize the image however you want. As you can see, if I just edit a corner here, I can warp the image, and I don't really like doing that. So if you hold shift and do it, as you can see, it just stays as the same aspect ratio. So I'm gonna hold shift and resize it so that I can just take out that watermark there. As you can see, it snaps right to the edges. If you hold control while you're moving around, it won't snap to an edge anymore, which is what I want. So now you have a cool city skyline background. But what I like to do is, you don't really want your background unless you do, but generally you don't want your background, because that's all it is. It's just a background, right? You don't want it to pop out. So what I like doing is you press Ctrl U, make sure you have the correct layer selected. Press Ctrl U on your keyboard, you bring up the hue/saturation. What I like to do is bring down the saturation so that's black and white, and bring down the lightness a tad, so that the background is, of course, more of a background. It's not as seen. Yeah, that's the background done. So if you press Ctrl Shift N, or if you just press this button, which is new layer, then we can add the other elements of our thumbnail. So what I like doing, as you guys saw in my rhythm box, I'm really gonna follow that form. I might just keep it open, to be honest. I'm gonna follow this style of thumbnail. I'm just gonna put on my second monitor. So as you can see on this thumbnail, I have, you know, a pretty big picture of anything, whatever your video is related to. To have a really good thumbnail, you really want not too much text at all, and you want a lot of, you know, graphics, a lot of images to, you know, because people are not going to read your thumbnails. You know, the text is too small. You don't want to make the text too small or have too much text. And that's what the main part of thumbnail should be, which is the image. So what I like doing is adding a logo. As you can see, I have one open of, you know, whatever your thumbnail is meant to. If you're making a gaming video of, let's say, Fortnite, you might want to have the Fortnite logo be really big. Obviously, the Victory Royale logo, just anything. I just want a big photo in there. That's the main attraction to look at. So I'm gonna copy this Photoshop logo, because obviously this video is about, you know, Photoshop. And what I'm gonna do is go into a new layer. I think it should be transparent. If not, you just delete the white or the whatever color it is, and you press Ctrl V to paste the Photoshop logo. And as you can see, it's very, very big. So I'm gonna press Ctrl T again and make it smaller, holding Shift. And you know, what you can do with the actual logo is up to you, and it's all just depending on the thumbnail itself. You can just leave it like this, you can rotate it a bit, but you know what I've liked doing recently, and as you can tell with the Rhythmbot one, I accidentally closed it, I'm an idiot, is I actually like having it kind of, some of the logo is off the thumbnail like that, which I don't know, I think it looks good. You might not agree. Actually, I might make it a bit smaller and make it there. The logo is cut off at the edge. I kind of like that, how it looks. You might not, it's fine, but you can just like do this, you know, so the full thing is there. But since the logo is just a square, to make it more, just make it look better, I just like having it there. People see the big Photoshop logo and they'll know without even having to read the title, oh, this is a Photoshop tutorial. That's what you want your thumbnails to have. You want your text to say what it's about, but as I said, you really want to limit your text to have not as much, so you can't say a lot. So you want your picture in your thumbnail to do the talking, if you know what I mean. So what I'm gonna actually do is add a drop shadow just to make it, you know, the logo pop out of it a bit more. You can add a stroke if you want, which is just an outline. Yeah, you can add that if you want. I don't want to add it. I'm just gonna add the drop shadow because I think it looks fine without it. So now you're pretty much halfway done our thumbnail. I'm gonna add a new layer, Control Shift N. You can do that too, or you can press that button right there. And now it's time to add our text. So you can go to the text tool right there and choose your font. So this is actually, you know, font choosing is actually kind of hard to do, and choosing the wrong or right font can make a thumbnail go from looking really bad to really good. But the general rule with font is you want to have a bold font, right? So fonts like this, right? That's good. That's a good font. But fonts like this, that is not actually. Now that one might be good in certain situations, but Definitely fonts like these. You do not want these types of fonts in your thumbnail. They're thin, you know, they're hard to read. You can bold it with Photoshop. You click that button and you bold it, but it doesn't bold it that much, obviously. And they don't look pleasing at all in thumbnails. And the worst types of fonts are these ones, you know, like, actually no, that's actually a pretty good font for thumbnail, but you know what I mean, like the handwritten style fonts like this. They're really thin, they're curly, they're hard to read, they're not good looking for thumbnail. So you get the drill. You know, Impact is a classic font, you know, everyone uses it. It's used for memes and stuff like that, because it's big and bold. What I like using is a cool font. It's called League Spartan, right? And if you have it on all caps, it's a really cool looking font. It's not too plain, but it's not too flashy. It's big and bold. It's the perfect font for thumbnails, in my opinion. All I'm gonna do is have it do make, right? Oh, that was a fail. So I'm gonna have the word make right there and put it on the side. Press check mark. I'm gonna add another layer, Control-Shift-N, and I'm gonna have it do great. The word, I'm just saying the words. I'm actually gonna make it so that the text all lined up right there. So I'm gonna make the text smaller. If you highlight all the text by double clicking on it and you use this slider, you can make the text smaller right there. And if you want to move the text, you can just highlight it again, click kind of under it, and you can move it around. Okay, so now I have make and great. They're around the same like size, right? They're lined up to each other on the side there, which is you know, you really want to do that. That's a good aesthetically pleasing style. Press check mark to finish that. Add another layer, and I'm gonna add the word thumbnails. As you can see, it's kind of long, so what I'm gonna do is line it up as I usually do, and make it smaller and line up with the word great. So in this case, as you can see, thumbnails is small, and you might be thinking, well, you said you didn't want small ones, but it's big enough. I think it still takes up half the whole thumbnail, right? The word. So, and you actually do want your text to line up like that. You know, it's a good style. That's not the general, just 100% hard set rule with text. You know, there are a lot of things you can do with text in your thumbnails, but this is what I like doing, what I think looks good. So obviously you can leave your text like just plain and white, but that obviously doesn't look good. So if you right click and go to blending actually not blending options, well, you can go to blending options, but you have to go to the layer styles, right? So what I like doing is going to gradient overlay, right? You can click the check mark or just the gray area here to actually go to it and check at the same time. And I already have a lot of preset gradients. I have 4. I have blue, yellow, green, and purple right there. So you obviously won't have those if you just start off Photoshop. So to actually make the gradient, you have to click this bar to edit the gradient. And by default, it'll be something like this, right? And that I don't think that looks good at all. So what you want to do is click this button right here and click that color box and choose any color you want. So to make gradients look good, you want to have the same color but just from a dark to a light, like as you can see with the blue and with the yellow. So I'm gonna do a orange gradient. So I'm gonna make the bottom a dark orange, press OK, and you can make the other side of the gradient a yellow, a very bright yellow. So now, as you can see, the gradient looks pretty good. It's a gray, or it's an orange gradient this time. It's not the yellow, and it goes from light orange to dark orange. And I think that looks good for now, but we're totally not done. So you can press OK there, and now you have your gradient set for the word make. What I like doing to make the text pop out a bit more as well is, first of all, adding a inner glow. So to make the inner glow look like that, it might be a bit too much, actually, if you don't like that. So you can even turn down the opacity or turn down the choke and the size. But I'm just going to turn on the opacity. To do that, you have to make sure blend mode is on overlay. By default, it's on normal. And what you want to do is set it to overlay so that it doesn't just have like a white glow. It actually makes the color under it just lighter, which is a really cool effect right there. And press OK. And what I also like doing is just actually copying this. So if you press Ctrl J on your keyboard, you can make a copy of the selected layer. And on the bottommost layer, I press Ctrl T I actually press Ctrl R to open the ruler. So you press Ctrl T, and I use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I bring it down about maybe 5 pixels or so. Then I press the check mark. So I can see, you might be thinking, why are you doing this? It just looks weird. Hold on. If I press Ctrl U on my keyboard, oh, actually, I can't press Ctrl U right now because it is still a text layer. As you can see, this layer looks different from this layer. because this is just a text and this is actual photo layer. So what you want to do is actually, if you're done your text, you don't need to make any, edits to it. You just highlight all your text. I just held shift and clicked there, hold shift, click and make to select all my text thumbnails. Right click and do rasterize type. So now it makes the layers a normal layer. So now I can press Control U, there we go, to open hue/saturation. Last time I made the saturation low, but this time I'm just going to bring the lightness down to about -50 or so. I'll actually make it even lower, to be honest. And now, as you can see, it actually makes the make word have a little 3D-esque little drop shadow directly on the bottom of it right there. If I just take that away, that's what it was before. And that's what it looks like now, because I dragged it down a couple pixels, and I pressed Control U and brought down the lightness of it. I might do it again actually, and to make it look really cool, have that little like 3D style effect. That's obviously not the best way to do 3D text. You actually can do 3D text in Photoshop, but I don't want to make 3D text. I just want this cool effect. So now you have two make layers. You can leave them separated, or what I like to do is just hold shift and select both of them, and I just like merging the layers, right? So now they're on the same layer. So now your make word is almost done. The final thing I like doing is adding just a simple drop shadow to it. And obviously, as I said before, you can edit the spread and the choke and the size. Actually, there's no choke here, but the spread and the size, you can edit it to your liking, right? You can edit the opacity as well. And if I press OK, I think I'm finally done my make word. So right, this process does kind of take a while, but once you keep, doing this over and over again, you can eventually do it in like 2 seconds. And if you watch me do it, I'm just gonna do it really quickly, right? I'm just gonna do it really quickly. So I'm gonna show you how I do it. Boom, gradient, inner glow. Press Control J, make the gray copy. Move this down, enter. Control U, lightness, very low. Add the drop shadow, and boom, you're done. As you can see, that's how quick I can do it, just because I know what to do. But so if you want to know what to do all over again, just rerun the video and watch how I did the make word. And I'm just gonna do the same for thumbnails. I'm just gonna merge this down. And there we go. We are completely done with our text. So essentially, the main part of our thumbnail is done. It's all done. You can add more stuff to it. You can add more pictures. But what I like doing personally is just, first of all, I like highlighting all my text and pressing Control T. Then you can move it around. You can do whatever you want with it. Pressing Control T. I like making it a little bit bigger, making it overlapping our text, or our Photoshop logo, excuse me. And what you can do with the text is you can warp it, in any way you want. If you hold Control and you click one of these, the sides, it actually warps the text as you're seeing right now. You can have some really cool things you can do with it. I'm just Control Z that. If you do it normally, obviously, it just moves like that. But if you hold Control, you can definitely warp it and do some cool things with it. You can do like that, right? And then have it look like the text slanted almost, which I like that effect too. If you press Control Alt and Z, you can keep going back, on Control and Z, wherever you can go back. If you actually hold Control not on the corner but on the side, you can just that was a fail. You can slant the text too, like that, which is another cool feature. You can do that, right? That's a cool feature. I might actually leave it like that. Actually, this is what the great thing about making thumbnails is. You can just edit it to your liking. So I'm honestly gonna leave it like this because I like that style. So I'm actually gonna merge it. You don't have to. You probably even shouldn't if you want to individually edit each word. But I'm gonna merge the layers just because I know I'm done. And now you can add whatever you want to. Add another drop shadow if you want. A stroke is not a good idea because you've already added a drop shadow. So it's gonna add a stroke to the drop shadow. So what I like doing for the final thing, just to add a little touch to the thumbnail, is if you add a new layer. Press Alt Delete on your keyboard. Or it's not deleting anything, it's actually doing the opposite. It's filling it with the color that you selected up there. Then if you bring the fill down to 0%, there's still a white solid color in this layer, but since I made the fill 0%, you can't see it, but you can still add effects to this fill. So you can add things like a inner shadow to it, so you can add like a vignette around your thumbnail. That's cool. You can add an inner glow to your thumbnail. But what I like doing personally now is adding a inner stroke. So you click stroke. Obviously, don't click outside because there's nothing outside. You would do inside the stroke. You can make the size however you want. Actually, I'm gonna make the size around there. And what you do is make the blend mode to overlay and bring down the opacity a bit. And it adds a nice little just overlay little stroke to your thumbnail. Let me zoom in a bit. As you can see, like there's an inner stroke there, and it's like a white overlay of just a light. I think it looks really cool in my opinion, but you can do whatever. You can add that inner shadow if you like that effect. So to actually save your thumbnail once you're all complete, you want to go to File and Save As. And I just have a thumbnails folder. So for the file type, you obviously don't want a Photoshop file type or a .psd, because that file type will just open Photoshop again. It's just like a Photoshop work file. You actually want to make it into an image, and images are JPEGs or I think BMPs are images, I'm not sure, but definitely for sure JPEGs are, which is probably the most common image file type on the internet. PNGs are also pretty common, which actually PNGs hold transparency, if you guys didn't know. Which remember that black and white checkered background? Yeah, PNGs can actually save that, but JPEGs can't. So they make any transparency just a black, I'm pretty sure. It's a black solid color. With thumbnails, you don't want to add any transparency at all, because that would just look really weird. So you definitely just want to keep it as JPEG. That's the wrong one. Just do the normal JPEG right there. And the great thing about JPEG is the quality is really, it's fine. It just looks how it is. The quality is good, and the file size is very, very small, especially for like a 720p thumbnail. It's very small, so YouTube can easily work with pretty much any thumbnail that you make since it's a JPEG. So that's all you have to do. Then you just name it whatever. Make sure you keep the .jpeg in the name. I'm just gonna call it tutorial. Save as type.jpg and just click save. And for the quality here, put it all the way to 12, because the file size, as you can see, it's 352 kilobytes, which is very tiny. And of course you want the best quality. I just leave it at baseline standard, matte, none, quality, maximum. Just do the best quality, all right? And press OK, and boom, you are done. You can save this this project file as a PSD if you want to edit it again, but I'm just not going to. And if you go to where your thumbnail is, it is right here, tutorial thumbnail. Make great thumbnails. And in my opinion, I think it looks like a good thumbnail. You know, there's not that much effects, as I said before, but I like the look of it. This is a very long video. I'm sorry. I'll try to cut it down a bit in editing. But I really want to over-explain and show you guys how I make my thumbnails and how to add other stuff. It's not the most flashy thumbnail, but I think it looks simple, as I said before, minimalist, and I think it looks pleasing to the eye, and it would really make people want to click on it. So thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I hope it helped some of you guys out. And if you have any questions, you can actually join my Discord server, and you can actually personally ask me a question. That's a lot easier for me than just answering in the comments. But you can ask in the comments too if you don't have Discord, and I'll try to get to them. But if you join my Discord server, you have a chance to, actually talk to me, and I'll definitely respond 100%. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Sorry for the long video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.